guys, so welcome to our very first podcast. This is Dr. Maria and this is Dr. Prithvidev. So we are going to talk about religion and science. So Dr. Prithvi, my very first question for you is, what according to you is religion?
Religion is a thing that holds people back, doesn't let them evolve, and gives them a cushion to be wrong every time that they do something or say something or suggest something that might not agree with the notion of normalcy around them.
Okay. And how do you define science?
Science is something that helps you quantify, that helps you explain, understand, theorize, hypothesize, and explain everything happening around you.
Okay. What is prime reality, the really real?
Prime reality has different definitions, right? There is nothing really real. For example, say there is a mirror, you are looking into a mirror, but are you looking at yourself? Are you?
Yes.
No, you are not.
Then?
You are looking at yourself in the past. You can never ever look at yourself in real time. You can never look at anything in real time. An X action happens at a distance, so it reaches, by the time you see it, it has already happened. There will always be a split second gap or nanosecond gap between the action actually happening and you being able to perceive that action. So how can anything be prime reality? How can anything be really real? Everything that you see, everything that happens has happened in the past from the moment that you are witnessing it.
What is the nature of world or universe around us? Was it created? Did it just pop into being? Or is it ordered? Does it even exist?
Let's address the existence part first. It might not. For example, say you're looking at the moon. It exists, but when you are not looking at the moon, how do you know it does? For example, you are sitting here right now, I can see you exist. If you are not sitting here, how do I know you don't exist? You don't know, right? So it could either be or not be. You cannot know the position of an object and the speed of an object, Heisenberg's principle, right? And as for the existence of universe and all of that, string theory suggests that universe could just be a hologram. A hologram being projected from four farthest corners of the universe. But we don't know where those corners are. And the other part of the question being created or popped into being. See, as for the creation part, Bible suggests that God created the universe. God said, let there be light, let there be this and that. Vedas suggest that there was Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg from which Brahma came out and gave the universe its entire life. And then there is obviously the Big Bang, where a Big Bang happened, a black hole or a quantum universe that I would suggest popped up because of the entropy increased to a point and gave out all the elements, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen into the universe. It sent out those elements and finally life began. The planets were created, the stars were created, the galaxies were created, right? Now, the thing is, people often say that universe was created and universe popped into being, but it cannot be all three, right? Big Bang has a proof. Cosmic background radiations, they have been proved, they exist. Hiranyagarbha, nobody saw a golden egg. God, nobody saw God. And also, if all three notions are correct, if all three stories are correct, I want to see three universes. I want to travel between universes. I want to see what my other self is doing. That would be the notion of multiverse, which religion cannot comprehend. Only science can. So religion is contradicting. It contradicts itself. Either there are multiple universes according to religion, because different religions have created the same universe differently. So there are multiple universes. But if you tell those religious people that there are multiple universes, their minds will blow. Literally, like kaboom. Because their brains aren't intellectual enough to handle that kind of information.
Okay, so ever since our childhood, we have always heard these stories about the creation of Earth, how life came into existence and stuff. So, do you think these are all stories? Was there some reality behind all this?
Behind what?
All these stories that we have heard, like the
See,
Gita, the Bible, and all that creation stuff.
there might be some stories behind, there might be some reality, but you can't say that those things actually happen the way they show. Ramanand Sagar's Mahabharata or Ramayana, they didn't shoot a bow and it became a snake in the middle of the earth. That doesn't happen. That is stupid. They couldn't just create energy out of nothing. That is not possible. That is the law. Energy cannot be created nor be destroyed. You need something to do that, right? So, yes, sure. Stories, there might be stories like, say, I'm walking down the road, someone is trying to steal something from someone, and an ex-person comes across, saves that person, and all is good, right? I come home, I tell that story in a different way, that I saw a man who was this, who was like that, who did that, who kicked the other person in the chest, and it was so good. That's the work that screenplay writers do. What we call today filmography, or what we call today Bollywood or Hollywood, that is exactly what Mahabharata or Ramayana is. A mythical story with fictitious characters being told by someone who is really good at storytelling. They weren't gods or they weren't sages, they were just great storytellers. If I could be that, I would be. It would be fun.
Okay, so how do you think religion came into existence?
By fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of everything that the Homo sapiens or the hominids couldn't quantify or understand, or their brains couldn't find a way to make sense of.
But why exactly religion? Why didn't they choose something else?
Because that is the psychological evolution of humans. They didn't choose religion. They weren't being religious. They weren't saying that yes, we will be the devotee of fire or the devotee of water. They didn't say that. They might have just worshipped it or asked it to not be so cruel to them, right? Even initially, when they started doing that, they would have just asked water or fire, because they might have believed that those things are alive like they are, because they didn't have that kind of intellectual brains to understand that those are non-living things. They didn't have the concept of living and non-living. So they just asked those fire, the water, the air, to spare them, to spare their lives, to not hurt them. Over the period of time, eventually, when the humans started to increase in numbers, not evolution, in numbers, they might have started to realize that yes, this could be a thing. We could make this a religion. We could make a religion out of this. Now people say Hinduism is the oldest religion. When did Hinduism come into being? Like, say, what, 10,000 years ago? Or maybe Ramayana, whenever Ramayana happened. Ramayana happened about 10,000 years ago, that was Satyug. Humans have existed for 7.5 million years. So what were they doing before that? Roaming here and there, banging their heads in the walls. So it's a different thing. You can't just say religions have always existed. It wasn't like a person was walking and found religion fallen on the floor. An apple fell on Newton. Religion didn't fall on anybody. Apple fell because it exists. Religion didn't because it doesn't. God does.
You both come from a city of gods and goddesses. So I personally believe it's really difficult to comment on whether science is superior to religion, or whether religion is just a fantasy created by people.
It is a fantasy created by people. And it is very easy to comment on that. You just need to be miserable, misanthropic as that I am, not you are, I am.
Okay. So living in such a place, I have been to many temples, and not many times, but sometimes I have seen people coming possessed, and people talking that, the certain person is possessed. How do you comment on this? Like, they will tell this person is not cured by the doctors, not being able to diagnose, and when that certain person is coming to temple, he feels all right, he's okay. So how do you comment on such situations?
See, firstly, if a doctor is not being able to diagnose a patient, that's an idiot doctor. He should leave his practice, go and sit at home. Secondly, going to temples doesn't cure you. It doesn't cure you physically. Those illnesses are not physical, they are mental illnesses. Because these people have grown up in a surrounding, in an environment where they have been told that these kind of things exist. For example, let me tell you a story that I was told many years ago. When the population was quite less in the mountains, right, on the higher side or wherever, so there were very few houses. People used to die. Right? They didn't bring those people down to the cemetery or anywhere. They burned the bodies right there. So, as being a doctor, you might know bodies have phosphorus. Phosphorus on contact with air burns. So, those people, the people living in the city, used to look at those fires moving, because the fire obviously it will move. It is light. They used to call them ghosts.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Right. So that was phosphorus burning. So the thing is, it is not possession, or it is not ghost, or it is not something that is paranormal. It is just something that at that point of time they weren't able to explain. People go to temples and get all right of whatever disease they have. They might not have that disease. It might just be depression or anxiety, or it might be a somatic syndrome, right? There, like as I said, there is another person who was so depressed and anxious because that person came here from an ex place, lived alone, got depressed, got anxious, and he kept hearing stories of, say, people getting this paranormal activities happening to them, people having these paranormal attacks and all of that amounted to that person finally being in a state of unconscious mind and doing things unconsciously without actually knowing that that person was doing all those things. So eventually it led to that person believing that she was possessed. But she wasn't. It was somatic syndrome along with depression and anxiety. So people don't get better because they go to temples. People who do get better by going to temples, well, they are faking it obviously, as a Munchausen syndrome. People don't get sick like that. People get sick because they want attention. And say whatever disease be, there is no disease that a doctor can't cure if given he or she is a good doctor. So if still that person is not getting better, I'll say let that patient die. And that patient will not die. I can guarantee you that, because there is nothing wrong with that person. As long as you keep giving attention to those kind of people will keep asking for more.
So do you think religion has some placebo effect on such people?
Yes, could be placebo, but could also just be something that has been engraved into their brains. That when nothing works, God does. Because saying that God works in mysterious ways, saying that God does this to you so that He can challenge you, He challenges those who are His favorites and all of that, it just gives them a sense of accomplishment that they are God's favorite child. God doesn't care about you. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. It is bigger than anything that your brain can fathom. God doesn't care about an X person sitting on a planet in the Milky Way, in some city, in some district, in some village, in some house. God doesn't care about you. Even if God were there are larger things at work. The cosmos is infinitely large. Also, God doesn't exist, so that's a moot point.
Okay, in the past, people were not intellectually developed, as you said, but now I believe we are intellectually very developed. But
No,
why
we are
we
not.
still are stuck
No,
between religion and
we are not. We are not
science?
intellectually developed. We are not intellectually developed.
But we often hear this that science has done so much development and people are evolving and all that stuff.
Science has done development. Humans as a species have not. Science has evolved. Humans as a species have not. Because even today we still have to go to people and tell them vaccines and medicines are good for you because it works. Also, not all science is good, because I have worked and met with so many people who call themselves scientists and work on the idea that you should believe in science. You should not believe in science. Where the word belief comes, it ruins the actual tangible nature of science or anything that is. I cannot say, what if I tell you believe that 2 plus 2 is equal to 5? Is that right? That is stupid. A person comes to me with cancer, I tell them take paracetamol, you'll be fine. Will that work? Because that is stupid. Beliefs don't work. You do not, no scientist, no good scientist, no good doctor any day should tell any patient or any person that you should believe in this thing. If you are asking a person to believe in your idea, if you are asking a person to believe in your theory that is based in science, that has science written all over it, and still you are asking them to believe, then you are not a good scientist, you are not a good doctor. You are just somebody who happened to become one. And that's not good for science or anything at all.
So Dr. Prithvi, I want to ask you, a person believing in religion, do you think he would be living a better life if he didn't believe in religion and rather believed on facts and science?
See, again, that's the same thing. You don't have to believe, you just have to see the facts. The facts happen, you can see the things happening in a certain way. Falls down, right? I cannot say that if I hold this here and do this, it will go up. Facts are gravity works. Gravity works for everybody. For example, I had this certain question asked once, that not a question, it was more of a comment or something, that God works in mysterious ways and to each their own. That was the line used, right? God is to each their own. That every person can define God according to them. I haven't heard anything more moronic than that in my entire life. How can something that is global still be to each their own? Gravity is the same for you and me. Why is God not the same for you and me? If God is, and if God is this universal cosmological being, just like gravity, that is a cosmological notion, the cosmological idea, cosmological theory that works, that everything will fall down if it goes up, then it should be the same for everybody. It cannot be to each their own. That is stupidity running rampant among the masses.
We are talking on a very sensitive topic, as we all know, but we recently witnessed Dussehra, right?
Of course.
And we saw so many deities coming from different places, and there were huge number of people witnessing.
Of course, I
Dussehra.
captured all of it.
Yeah, I saw all your reels. They were really beautiful. So you might have seen those deities dancing, moving around, and
Sure.
people believe that those are the powers they have. So what do you have to comment
Obviously,
about?
those are the powers that they have, the people who are holding them.
So you mean to say they're malingering?
Obviously. What else? Do you think that thing, whatever it is covered with cloth, starts moving all of a sudden?
I think not many people will be happy with what you have just said. But
If I did care about that thing, I would be here.
can you tell us like what exactly that's happening there?
Nothing is happening. People have been told, it's the same thing. They are living in an environment where they have been told that these things happen, and their brains make them do those things. See, two pieces of wood and a cloth on it doesn't move. It is a non-living thing. Non-living things don't move. That's and how can you just say that it is a living thing or it moves on its own and then just put it right outside without any blanket at night? De do kambal bhi de do. Like in Gurdwaras you go, they take their Granth Sahib, they put their Granth Sahib on a bed, they give blankets to that. किताब को ठंड नहीं लगती. Why do you have to give a blanket to a book and then put the AC on? That one book is consuming electricity of unimaginable amounts all across the world. How stupid is that? Humans are stupid as species.
I guess this is a never-ending debate, and we are always going to debate until we reach a answer.
See, if people could just take my word for it, we would have reached the answer right now. Given that my word should be taken depending on their intelligence and my intelligence, and there is no comparison of that. Obviously. But the thing is, people are stupid. People want something to believe in so that they can hold someone else accountable for their mistakes, hold someone else accountable for their faults, hold someone else accountable for everything wrong that they have done in their lives. So at the end of the day, what happens is, if someone fails at life, if someone fails at what they are doing, they don't say that I failed. They say God failed me. They say God failed me. So God is not something that they think they want there to be. God is a notion for them. God is a cushion. God is a safety cushion. The next person tries to do something that doesn't work, and then that person says, "Mere karam kharab. God didn't want this to happen to me. God didn't want this to me for me. God must have better plans for me." And then they wait. See, you can't just sit here and say, God will look after me. If I put food in front of you, you have to put your hand out and put it in your mouth. God will not do that. So if God is not doing any of it for you, then why are you doing all of this entire charade for something that doesn't even exist or hides in a closet? Being a scientist, I stand outside, I stand in front of people, I say things that mean something, I say things that are tangible and definable and explainable, and I say things whenever I want, whatever I want. God hides in a closet, if he exists, which he doesn't, certainly.
Okay, so we had a lot of opinions, we had a lot of talk. I guess this is a never-ending topic, but still it was fun. So
Obviously
I guess
fun.
we will come up with many other topics and many other debates. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we had a lot of fun. So we'll keep looking forward to many more such videos.
I had a lot of fun, sure.
Me too.
You're always good.
Thank you, Dr. Prithvi, for clearing our doubts till a certain extent, but I still believe it's really hard to make everybody understand what they should do.
See, that
and
is
what
the
they
thing.
shouldn't.
You don't have to make everybody understand.
Yeah, exactly. Why
People
should we bother?
People who don't understand will eventually poof.
Yeah, exactly. So okay guys, stay tuned, and we'll come up with many more such exciting videos soon.
Live long and prosper.